This is the story of a young reporter named Sarah Malik, who never expected her life to change in one single night. She was a normal writer with a normal job, until she received a strange email from someone she did not know. The message told her to visit an old NASA building at midnight. At first, she thought it was a joke, but something inside her heart pushed her to go. When she reached the building, she found hidden files, secret photos, and old reports that were never shown to the public. These files held information about strange lights in space, missing data, and signs of possible life on other planets. Sarah did not know that opening this box of secrets would begin a dangerous journey, one that could reveal the truth NASA had kept in the dark for years. Sarah Malik was a young science reporter who always wanted to uncover big stories. Ever since she was a child, she loved reading about the moon, planets, and distant stars. She dreamed of becoming the kind of journalist who finds hidden truths and shows them to the world. But her life had been simple and quiet. She worked at a small news website where she mostly wrote short articles about weather or small science events. She wanted something bigger, something that would change her career forever. She just never knew that her chance would arrive in a very strange way. One rainy evening, while she was sitting in her small apartment writing a boring article, her laptop made a soft beep. She checked her inbox and saw a new email from an unknown sender. The subject line said, "NASA Archives, Hidden Truth." She frowned, thinking it might be spam, but she clicked on it anyway. The message inside was short and mysterious. "If you want the truth about NASA, go to Building 39, Room 7, midnight, come alone." There was no name, no signature, nothing to explain who sent it. At first, Sarah laughed nervously. It sounded like something from a movie. She closed her laptop and tried to ignore it, but the message stayed in her mind like a whisper she couldn't escape. After an hour of thinking, she finally stood up and took her jacket. Maybe it's nothing, she told herself, but maybe it's something huge. She decided to go. The old NASA Research Center was far from the city. Sarah took a bus, then walked for 20 minutes in the dark. When she reached the gate, she realized the place looked abandoned. The building walls were cracked, the windows dusty, and the sign saying NASA Building 39 was broken. A cold wind blew through the empty parking lot. For a moment, she wondered if she should turn back, but her curiosity pushed her forward. She found a side door that was unlocked. When she stepped inside, the air smelled old, like paper and metal that had not been touched for many years. She turned on her flashlight and walked through the long hallway. Everything was silent. Her footsteps echoed loudly, making her feel even more nervous. She passed rooms filled with broken computers, old chairs, and strange machines covered in sheets. The building felt like a place forgotten by time. After a few minutes, she reached a door with a small, faded sign, Room 7. Her heart beat faster. She pushed the door gently, and it creaked open. The room was dark, but when she shone her flashlight, she saw shelves filled with files, tapes, and photographs. Dust covered everything. In the middle of the room stood a large metal box with a red label that said, "Archives do not open." Sarah felt a mix of fear and excitement. She walked toward the box, her hands shaking slightly. "Why would someone send me here?" she whispered. With a deep breath, she slowly opened the box. Inside, she found stacks of folders, each marked with dates and mission names. Some were labeled Apollo, some Gemini, and others had no clear titles at all. She carefully opened the first folder. Inside were photos from the moon missions, but these photos looked different from the ones the public had seen. In one picture, a bright light hovered behind an astronaut. In another, a strange shadow appeared on the lunar surface, but the shape did not look like a rock or equipment. The shape looked almost like a figure standing far away. She flipped through more images and felt chills run down her spine. Then she picked up a tape marked Mission Log Classified. She didn't have a player to listen to it, but the label alone made her uneasy. She opened another folder that contained letters written by NASA scientists. Many letters requested that certain images be kept out of public view or stored in restricted archives. The language was formal, but the meaning was clear. These were things NASA did not want the public to see. As she read more, she began to feel a strange tension in the room, as if she was not alone. She stopped reading and listened carefully. Silence. Then she heard a soft noise from the hallway. It sounded like footsteps. Her body froze. She quickly closed the folder and put it inside her bag. She grabbed more documents and stuffed them inside as fast as she could. The footsteps grew closer. Someone was coming. She turned off her flashlight and slowly backed into the corner of the room, trying to stay hidden. Her heartbeat pounded loudly in her ears. She heard the footsteps stop right outside the door. The door handle moved slightly, then stopped. After a few seconds, the footsteps slowly walked away, fading into the distance. Sarah let out a shaky breath. She picked up her flashlight but did not turn it on yet. She carefully stepped out of the room, trying not to make noise. She moved quietly through the hallway, hoping whoever was there would not come back. When she reached the side door, she stepped outside and quickly walked into the night. Only when she was far from the building did she allow herself to breathe normally again. She looked at her bag, heavy with documents and tapes. She didn't know exactly what she had found, but she knew it was important, maybe too important. When she reached her apartment, she locked the door behind her and sat down on the floor, trying to calm herself. She felt scared, confused, and excited all at once. She took out one folder and opened it again. The strange pictures stared back at her, silently holding secrets NASA had hidden for years. Sarah whispered to herself, "What did I just step into?" She didn't know yet, but her life had changed forever. Sarah woke up the next morning with a heavy mind. She barely slept, and when she did, she dreamed about dark hallways, strange lights, and men chasing her through NASA's old building. When she opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was the bag full of files lying on the chair next to her bed. For a moment, she wondered if everything last night had been a dream. But the bag was real, and the files inside were real too. She slowly sat up and touched the bag. Feeling both fear and responsibility, she made herself a cup of tea and sat at the small table in her apartment. Outside, the sunlight looked soft and peaceful, but inside her heart, everything felt heavy. She opened the first folder and began reading again. The documents were full of technical words, mission reports, and handwritten notes from scientists. She tried to focus on the parts she could understand. One report described a strange incident during a spacewalk in the Apollo era. The astronauts had seen a bright object following their spacecraft. It changed direction suddenly, something a satellite or space debris could not do. The astronauts reported it, but the official public report never mentioned it. Instead, it said the astronauts had seen reflected light. But the private report in her hands clearly said, "Movement inconsistent with known space objects." Sarah took a deep breath. Why would NASA hide something like this? She opened another set of papers and found notes from a scientist named Dr. Henry Cole. He seemed to be involved in analyzing unusual data from different missions. His handwriting was messy but readable. One paragraph caught her attention. Data from Venus scans suggests presence of chemical reactions similar to organic processes. Further study required. At the end, someone had added a note in red ink. Do not continue. Project suspended. Sarah felt chills again. Was this a sign of life on another planet? And NASA just stopped the research. She leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. If these papers were genuine and, she believed they were, then NASA had kept a huge amount of information hidden from the world. But the question she kept asking herself was, why? As she flipped through more documents, she noticed many files were stamped classified. Some were missing pages. Some had black lines covering important details. She saw photos that didn't match official mission pictures. Shadows on the moon that looked like shapes, strange marks on spacecraft panels, and glowing lights in the distance. Then she found something even more disturbing: internal emails between high-level NASA officials. One message said, "Archive sensitive materials in Building 39. Restricted access only." Another said, "Public release will cause unnecessary panic. Seal all non-essential files." Panic? What kind of information could cause panic? As Sarah tried to process everything, her phone buzzed. She picked it up, thinking it might be her boss or a friend. But the message made her heart jump. "You were warned. Stop now." The sender was unknown. Her fingers trembled slightly. Someone knew she had the files. Someone was watching her. She quickly closed her curtains and locked her door. She felt unsafe in her own home. She picked up her bag, unsure what to do next. Should she go to the police? Should she contact her boss? But who could she trust? These files were not normal. They involved powerful organizations. She needed answers. And only one place could give them: NASA itself. Against her fear, she decided to go back to Building 39. Maybe there were more files, more clues. Maybe she missed something important. She packed the documents securely, grabbed her jacket, and left her apartment quietly. When she reached the site, she froze. The entrance that was open last night was now sealed with new locks. Yellow security tape crossed the door. Someone had come after her visit. Someone had cleaned up. She walked around the building, hoping to find another way inside. But every door was locked. Every window was shut. It looked like the building had suddenly become important again, even though it had been abandoned for years. While walking behind the building, she noticed fresh footprints on the dusty ground. Large footprints, and many of them, maybe security officers, had been here. Maybe they were looking for her. She stepped back slowly, her heart pounding. She realized she could no longer treat this like an adventure. This was real danger. She went home, her mind filled with fear and questions. As she sat on her couch, she whispered to herself, "Who sent the first email? Why did they choose me?" She opened her laptop and typed a message to the mystery sender. "I found the archives. I need answers. Tell me who you are." She hit send and waited. Minutes passed. Nothing. She felt disappointed, but then her laptop beeped. A new message appeared. "Meet me tomorrow. 6 p.m., Old Calf Junction. Come alone." Her heart tightened. This could be the person behind everything. This could be her only chance to learn the truth. She didn't know if she should trust the message, but she didn't have a choice. She needed the truth. And tomorrow, she would face it no matter what waited for her. Part 3, The Final Reveal, 1,000 Words. The next day arrived slowly, filled with tension. Sarah prepared herself for the meeting. She dressed simply, tied her hair back, and placed all the important files inside her backpack. Every minute felt heavy. Every sound outside her apartment made her nervous. She checked the time again and again as the clock moved toward 4 p.m. By 3:30 p.m., she left her apartment and headed toward Old Calf Junction. It was a quiet place outside the city, a location that few people visited now. The cafe was old, with fading paint and a rusty sign. When she reached it, she hesitated at the door, wondering if she was making a huge mistake. Inside, the cafe was nearly empty. Only one man sat at a corner table, wearing an old jacket and dark glasses. When he saw her, he stood up slowly and nodded. "You came," he said softly. Sarah walked toward him carefully. "Are you the one who emailed me?" she asked. He removed his glasses, revealing tired eyes. "Yes, my name is Daniel Reed," he said. "I used to work at NASA." Sarah's breath caught. A NASA insider. Daniel signaled for her to sit. When she did, he leaned forward and whispered, "You were not supposed to find those archives. They were hidden for decades." "Why?" Sarah asked. "What is NASA hiding?" Daniel looked around the cafe nervously before speaking. "I worked in the research division during the Apollo and Venus projects. I studied unusual data, things the public was never told about." Sarah listened carefully as he continued. During the early moon missions, astronauts reported strange objects moving around their spacecraft, lights that followed them, shadows that changed direction, sounds that came through the radio but didn't match any known source. "We analyzed everything, but many things had no explanation." He took a deep breath. NASA feared panic. The world was already struggling with fear of war and technology. They believed telling people about unknown things in space would cause chaos, so they sealed the information. Sarah felt her chest tighten. "And the Venus data, the signs of life." Daniel looked down. That was real. The instruments detected chemical reactions that looked like they came from living organisms. Not human life, of course, but maybe microbes. Maybe something different. "We wanted to continue the study, but the project was shut down suddenly. Our reports were locked away." "Why shut it down?" Sarah asked. "Because if NASA admitted even a possibility of life, the world would change overnight," he said. "Religions, governments, science, everything would be shaken. Not everyone wanted that." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. She had always believed science was open and honest, but now she saw a different side, full of fear, control, and secrets. "But why me?" she finally asked. "Why send me the email?" Daniel smiled sadly. "Because I'm old now. I regret staying silent. I saw your articles online. You searched for truth. I believed you would be brave enough to uncover this." Before Sarah could respond, the sound of car doors slamming echoed outside. Daniel's face turned pale. "They found us," he whispered. Through the cafe window, Sarah saw two black cars parked outside. Men in dark suits stepped out, their faces hidden behind sunglasses. They looked dangerous. Daniel grabbed her arm. "Listen to me. Take the files and leave through the back door. Don't stop. Don't let them catch you." His voice trembled. "But what about you?" Sarah asked. "I'll distract them," he said, forcing a weak smile. "This is my last chance to do something right." Sarah felt her throat tighten, but she nodded. She grabbed her backpack and ran toward the back exit. She could hear the front door burst open as men shouted. She didn't look back. Outside, she ran through the alley behind the cafe. Her heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe. She didn't know where she was going, she just knew she had to escape. After running for several minutes, she reached a quiet road. She stopped to catch her breath. Her hands shook, and tears filled her eyes, but she wiped them quickly. She could not break down now. When she reached home, she locked the door and sat at her laptop. Daniel had risked everything. She could not waste his sacrifice. She took a deep breath, opened the files, and began uploading them. She wrote a message to the world. "Here is the truth. NASA hid for decades. The world deserves to know." Her hands trembled as she clicked publish. For a moment, everything was silent. Then notifications began to explode on her screen. Messages, comments, shares. The files spread across the internet like wildfire. Sarah leaned back, tears in her eyes. She whispered, "It's done." She didn't know what would happen next. She didn't know if NASA would deny everything, or if governments would react. But one thing was certain, the truth was finally out, and nothing would ever be the same again. And this is how Sarah Malik changed everything. With the help of Daniel Reed, a former NASA worker, she discovered secrets that were hidden from the world for decades. She learned about strange objects in space, lost missions, and signs of life that were never revealed to the public. Even when powerful people tried to stop her, she refused to give up. She ran, she fought, and in the end, she shared all the hidden files with the world. Her bravery brought truth to millions of people. Today, Sarah's story reminds us that sometimes the truth is locked away, waiting for someone brave enough to open the door. And no matter how big the secret is, one voice, one person, can change the world.